Hey family, and welcome to this week's Danielle Inspires. Has anything ever happened in your life that made you look bad? There might not have been any substance backing the appearance of failure, but whatever happened might have made you feel like a failure. You know, it's funny how what we think and what we feel become our reality, though the facts of what happened might contradict how things appear to be. You can think you lost face and you can feel like a failure even if you've won. Maybe the win wasn't as big as you hoped, or you didn't get everything you wanted out of the deal. Nevertheless, how we feel shapes our reality, period. It doesn't matter if we misunderstood the situation or if we misread or misinterpreted the facts. Once our feelings spring into action, we become on edge and need to deal with the drama unfolding before us. Now, none of us enjoys looking like or feeling like a failure. We live in a cruel world, and even those closest to us might be waiting for us to slip and fall or desire an occasion to reveal our flaws. So not only do we need strategies to recover from actual failures, we also need a few tricks up our sleeve for recovering from the appearance of failure. On this week's Danielle Inspires, we're going to discuss strategies for managing emotions triggered by failure and discover ways to stay on track even when you feel knocked out or locked out of the game. Winning is a choice. Losing is part of the process. Stay tuned for more inspiration to fuel your transformation on today's episode coming up next. I want you to bring to mind the best teacher you've ever had. Imagine you hear a knock at your door, you open it, and it's the best teacher you've ever had just standing there before you. She begins to tell you that there's an important lesson remaining for you to learn, and if you apply yourself to learning this lesson, the knowledge gained will help you achieve a major goal in your life. She says this lesson isn't difficult to learn, but it might bruise your ego a little. And then she asks, shall I share this pivotal knowledge with you? How would you respond to the best teacher you've ever had? Would you invite her in and intently listen to the life-changing lesson, or would you send her on her way, refusing to hear another word? What would it cost you just to hear her out? A little time, a little pride perhaps. Certainly you can spare a little of both, right? Yet what might you gain? You could gain hearing exactly what you need to hear to take your career, relationships, finances, health, and or emotional well-being to the next level. Is it worth the risk to receive a great reward just by listening to someone who has your best interest in mind? My answer is yes. Come on in. I can give up a little time and a little pride to achieve needed growth. And I think you feel the same way. So you invite her into your kitchen, you prepare coffee for both of you, you catch up on old times, and find out she's recently divorced and has gone back to using her maiden name. Of course, you want to address her properly, so you inquire, what is your maiden name? And without missing a beat, she erects her posture, holds her head up high, looks you squarely in the eyes and says, my maiden name is failure. Yes, you heard me right. Your best teacher ever goes by the name of failure. That name, that horrible name sends chills up the spines of superheroes and trips up the most agile hurdle jumpers in the world. You've unwittingly opened Pandora's box and unleashed the mother of all fears into your home. Failure is sitting in your kitchen, drinking your coffee, eagerly waiting to share some golden nugget with you. What if a neighbor walks by and sees failure in your house? I mean, the appearance of failure can be worse than failure itself, because you can't hide from the perception of others. You can't hide from your feelings of inadequacy and the unworthiness whenever failure joins you for morning coffee. Nothing in us wants to embrace failure like a friend. She is an unwelcome nuisance in our homes and in our minds. We are always trying to distance ourselves from her, but no matter how far we travel and no matter how many trophies we acquire, failure eventually knocks on our doors, armed with an important, life-changing message that we will never receive if we continue to treat her like the kiss of death. Recovering from the appearance of failure starts with changing your perception of failure. This might make you a little uncomfortable to hear, but if you get to know failure better, you would become a better student of life and more willing to give up some time and some pride to hear what your failures want to teach you. People will spend thousands of dollars to attend seminars to bolster their fragile egos, hoping they will walk away with the top secrets of the rich and successful. I like going to seminars and webinars, and I love that energy of inspiration and encouragement. But I also have to create room in my life to hear by trying and failing. Humans have the capacity to become used to anything, whether good or bad. We are resilient, highly adaptive beings. We can coexist peacefully with failure. The relationship doesn't have to be adversarial. And let's face it, failure isn't going away. It's here in our lives to stay. No matter how much money you have, no matter how much influence you have, failure will be with you. It's like an arranged marriage, arranged by God for our good. And we need to stop rebelling against this divine arrangement and try to make it work. Can you in this moment admit that you don't like failure? Just say it out loud. I don't like failing. I don't like failure. Your feelings are legitimate. It's okay to feel the way that you do. Let those feelings run their course. Breathe in deeply and exhale, creating the space for your feelings to just be. No judgments, no repercussions. Accept your feelings, no matter how deep or how shallow they run. Let them run their course. Don't dam them up. Don't trap them. Don't try to beautify them. Let them be as they are. When you're ready, insert a why into the equation. Why don't you like failing? Why don't you like failure? Again, there's no judgment, just honesty. We're opening communications and opening possibilities to coexist peacefully with something we don't like. We don't like failing. We don't like failing. Do you always have to win? If you don't always have to win, what are the alternatives to winning? You could be runner-up. You could be third place. You could get an honorable mention or lesser award, or you could be dead last. There are alternatives to first place, and though they are not as appealing as first place, do the alternatives diminish who you are? Are you somehow lesser with each loss, or can you win something of value with each loss? Explore the possibilities. Everything has pros and cons. There are pros and cons to winning, and there are pros and cons to losing. For this week's power move, I want you to explore the cons of winning and the pros of losing. as you brainstorm through this power move, if you get stuck, go online and do some research. Talk to a close friend and get their opinion. Take the time to hear what others have to say about the negative consequences of winning and the positive consequences of losing. Make a list that you can refer back to. And if you don't mind, send me the list. My contact information is on the screen and in the description below. We're not done yet with today's inspiration though. Once you've completed this week's power move, I want you to think about a hated people group in America. Think about the hated and the haters. Black people, for example, are targets of hate by some white people. Hate, as you probably know, is blinding. All haters see is the bad, and they don't bother to look for good. And they reinforce your skewed perspective by hanging around people who see the world as they do. Failing isn't as bad as you think it is. And neither is black, or gay people, or female, or uniquely abled people. I want you to work on opening your heart and mind to accept things the way they are. In the same way you can't change the color of my skin and mold me into a person you'd be willing to accept, you can't change failure. You can't change its purpose, you can't change its function, and you can't change its proximity to your life. I think it's pride that causes us to hate what we can't change. Hate isn't just an emotion, it's a perspective. It's a lens through which we view some people and situations. And if hate is a choice, we can choose an alternative. I know you confess to disliking failure, but if you can admit to hating failure, then maybe you realize that you've been looking at failure through a faulty lens. And you can choose to have a different perspective. You don't have to continue to feel the way that you do towards your failures, nor the failure of others. You can respond differently. Hate isn't the only option. Avoidance isn't the only option. Oppression and suppression aren't the only options. You and I can decide what type of relationship we want with failure. Whether there's currently hate involved or dislike, both lenses are unduly influenced by your ability to grow your greatness and to positively impact this world for good. Since you are surrounded by people who feel the same way that you do about failing, if you appear to be off your winning streak and performing below par, then they might negatively respond to you. They might treat you like a loser and think you have nothing meaningful to contribute. You get a crowd of people in a room and failure walks in, I guarantee you that folks would run out the doors as if a skunk strolled in, ready to spray them all. Failure becomes a lot more manageable when you stop trying to manage it. Trying something new and failing go together. You can't escape it. So ask yourself, how many losses are you willing to accept if winning in the end is guaranteed? Based on my experiences, talking with other professionals, reading many books, including the Bible, I can tell you that winning at being you and living inside of your purpose are guaranteed wins. I can also guarantee you that once you've achieved a very difficult win, all the struggles along the way will make the win even sweeter and provide the knowledge and experience you need to take your life to the next level. I have had many situations in my life that didn't go as planned. And in the pursuit of my goals, I stumbled and failed quite a few times. As a new parent, I failed a lot. But I never thought about giving up on myself nor my son. I cried many tears, and at the lowest I've ever felt in my life was as a new mom. Nothing was working. I kept trying and nothing was working. Even strangers judged my parenting abilities, and I stopped wanting to leave the house with my son. I don't think any parent has a goal of being a bad parent. We all want to be good parents. That's the goal. We might describe good differently, but we still want to be good parents. At what point should we abandon the goal of being a good parent because of all the failures? The answer is never. We should never give up. We should never surrender to toxic emotions and negative thinking. We must never abandon our goals. And in fact, once we take quitting off the table, we see failures differently. It stops being a sign to quit and becomes a sign to try something different or to tap into our untapped potential. Taking quitting off the table will change your life for the better. Commit to accomplishing your goals. If you feel stuck where you are and you want to brainstorm some ideas about how to move forward, contact me. Just because you're out of ideas of what to do next, because everything else failed, doesn't mean you've tried everything. You've exhausted your knowledge, not mine. There's always more to give if you're willing to expand your capacity. Expanding your capacity might mean reaching out for help. It might cost you a little time. It might cost you a little pride, but the rewards will be huge. I'm very excited about your future. God has great plans for you and me, and I will continue to be a spring of information and inspiration in your life to keep you excited about what's next. So until next week, be bold, be great, and be inspired to do great things. Fail big, fail forward, right across the finish line, and I will see you next week. Take care.
Thank you for joining me for another week of Danielle Inspires. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the alert button so that you are aware of new content as soon as it is released, and share this inspiration with those you love. See you next week.